September the 3rd, 2019 at 6 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order and we'll start with the minutes from August the 19th, 2019. We've had those. Any comments, corrections, or anything on the minutes from August the 19th? Hearing none, entertain a motion to approve the minutes for August the 19th, 2019 Finance Committee meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion, we have a second. Jim seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Invoices, $77,946.78. You've had those. Pretty basic things, but we'll start with Jim if there's any questions.
I really didn't have anything except on the very last page, and then once I read the memo about the building for $663, but I already know what it is now. That's really the only question I had. Everything else is pretty standard. That stands out.
And that was wood milling, not blacktop.
For the cedar.
Okay. Connie? Outside.
Well, first page, just out of curiosity, we paid $1,981 for credit cards and 1 second. Is that the correct ordinance books?
Yes.
And next to $75 for these books.
Those are the, that's, bonds,
That's right. Okay.
3 new employees.
There was 3 there. Any questions from other council members on the invoices for this period? Again, they're just rather routine ones. So we have invoices totaling $77,946.78. Entertain a motion. We send this to full council for approval.
I make a motion that we send $77,946.70 full council to be paid.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. We'll go down item A on ordinances and resolutions. This will be for Hugh. It's application for DEP REAP grant. And Hugh, it doesn't state it in it, but that's the $5,000 and we match it, which would give us 2 houses essentially, right? With one we match.
And we're working on selling a lot of 4th Street for $10,000. And it's actually March 8th.
So it is pronounced REAP and it's spelled REAP.
And they've already approved us. They had to finalize master's grant. I've got finalization paperwork on it, so we passed everything. So they should be getting some check very soon.
Any questions for Hugh? And again, this is one of those no-brainers. Can we use one? And as much as we can get to tear down houses, the better. But any questions for the building inspector?
What about the one on 8th Street? Is it going to be sold?
Right.
The one on 8th Street, is it going to be sold?
Yes, the neighbors. Yes. Like I said, I did.
I don't know, let's look and see.
Get it appraised as soon as you can, sell as soon as you can. Because a number of neighbors complaining about the tree on
Oh, that's what?
it. The tree on it.
It's a live tree.
That's why I told them, they said it's too big, it needs to come out of the tree. I don't worry about that tree.
Big walnut tree.
So you got rid of the house for you now.
I know. You think they would just be happy with it? I just told them, don't worry about the tree.
No, we already have 2 houses down there now.
Any other questions for building inspector? Have a motion then to approve the application for DEP REAP grant. Again, that equals $5,000 from them, and we have to match it with 5 to tear down some more houses.
Make a motion that we, a resolution approving application for DEP REP grant.
Second.
Motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And you see your next one's the first reading of ordinance 784. And this is dealing with our court costs to put us in line with the new state code. It's currently 80. This would bump it to 90. And that would take effect after this 45 days after the second reading if it would pass, which would be either October the 31st or November the 1st, depending on how you count it. So any questions that we for, I guess the mayor, the judge is not here, but any questions about this? Again, it's just putting us in compliance with state code, raising the court costs from 80 to 90.
The sad part of it is we have to pay the money whether we collect it or not. And so it's imperative that we change the ordinance so we can collect it.
And it's,
Yes, we said that in monthly.
many of ours are not paying us. Another story. Any questions? Motion then for approval of first reading of ordinance 784.
I make a motion for first reading of ordinance 782.
Second.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Drop down to new business. You have your annual report from the Fire and Police Pension Fund. And this is for information, but we'll go over it. And again, we'll start with the policeman, because that is the one that has been closed for, Scott, how many years has that been closed? So if you look at it, they started out,
Why are you closing on? It was closed when I came on board.
2009, was it 12, 7 years ago?
okay. So if you look over your, scan that report, again, this is just a summary. We have no action on it tonight. The state will be telling us what to pay into it in the next year at 107%. But you see, they started with 6,053,000 and change in their account. Again, theirs has been closed to new hires for 7 years. All the recent ones are on statewide municipal system. You see their employees, two sets of contributions. Those hired before 2010, their total contribution at 7% is 24,000. Those hired after 2010 at 9.5% is 5,200. And then we as a city paid in 152,000, and the state, it's not a match, but the state's part is 85,400. So if you scan on over to the next page, that fund paid out 370,000. When you flip over in a moment to the fire, you'll see we've been benefited as a city on the financial side. It's been frustrating with the loss of officers over and over and over, but strictly on the financial side, because of the loss of officers over the years, we're only paying out half of what the fire is on retirement, because our guys haven't stayed, fire guys have. Now, on the day-to-day, that's a headache, right, Chief? He's always struggling to find officers. You see the 29,000, Connie, that's the BB&T fee for administration, correct? Okay. And then the 872 is just an incidental from the fireman, policeman, Scott, his retiree's expense. Is that just postage or something being that small, $8.72? Okay. And then you look down, if you look down, then their balance at the end is 6.3 million, almost when you get all the way to the bottom down there, it's 6.3 and some change. So it's very solid, it's in good shape. And you can look down a breakdown of how it's invested if you want to do that, we won't take time for that. You see they have 6 active policemen still paying into it. They have 8 retirees, 4 on disability, and 1 widow's benefit. So they have 13 drawing, whereas the fire has 24 drawing. So 2 things. One, we benefited just simply because of those problems, but then also their pension was tackled earlier. If you look back at the fire, again, this is just before we close it. We've voted to close, but we're still paying into it until all the paperwork is transferred over. So it started at 800,000, and you see it finished up finally just barely over $1 million. So actually had a gain, pretty significant gain. They paid out 616,000 to benefits, and then BB&T, their fees are smaller on this account. They're 6,000, and then they've got $900 within firemen and retirees expenses. Is that payment for the secretary, chief, is that what it is?
I'd say yes.
Right. Okay, so that's what that would come out. Has to be less than 100 for that amount, but there's $904 expenses. But they did gain about 26%, which is pretty good considering that a lot of that was coming out as soon as it was going in. You see on that last page, Again, they've got 14 firemen still working, paid into it, but they've got 18 retirees, 3 disabled, and 3 on good as benefits for 24 drawing. So that's, and if you followed this for the last few years, that's why we're closing this one like the police did, and new hires will go into the state municipal system, so we can try to get this thing under control as well. So hopefully you look over that and have a grasp of what's going on. Any questions about fire or police? This is again just a summary of what has been closed for the police and what is now being closed for the fire. It's a summary of their report as of June 30. And then the state will be issuing us, we're currently paying last year's rate. They'll be issuing us in about 2 weeks the new rate. That'll be paid until everything is, paperwork is transferred and we start the new system. Any questions? Connie, we're still on track by November, December to get everything set up to start on the new system.
So we're still
Clear. Okay.
pushing along.
Okay. Because if you noticed in our invoices for this time, there was payment. Okay, you've got your, and that's just a presentation. There's nothing for us to take action on. It's just for your information. There will be action later when it's in the new rate, but that's it for now, just information. Item B, you see American Tree Expo. Sorry. It says, okay, you're correct. Presentation and proof. Okay. Let's do that. Thank you, Steve. Again, there's nothing we can do to change it one way or the other, but let's approve receiving it. The annual report of both the firemen's and policemen's municipal pension funds.
I make a motion to present to full council presentation and approval of the annual report for the firemen's and policemen's pension.
Motion made to receive and then to send on full council this report. In a second. Any other discussion? Thank you, Steve, for reminding me that. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. We'll go down to item B, approval for American Tree Experts. And we've read the notes from Mayor, but if Mayor or Hugh share on that tree issue.
They're going to cut down this large pin oak about the center of the walkway down through here. We're going to take it out. They're just going to cut it up. We're going to do the same money. And walking people walking that way to the right of it. And I went there and looked at it. Not so it's getting ready to topple. Topples in the hotel. Thing like that. But just get rid of it now before it costs. Top of the drop.
We've been receiving complaints from the area businesses about the leaves or clogging up the drains and so forth on most of their building. It's causing them damage. And it's also, the pin oak is moving up the sidewalks and so forth. It's creating a hazard. So until we get those trees out of there, it's kind of pointless to go in and try to level out the sidewalks and get that fixed.
Will they take it to the ground?
We're going to cut it just flush to the ground. We're not going to around it right now.
I think we need to leave it probably about 6 foot tall. We never got a chainsaw called carbon bulldog.
Somebody can do that.
Grand West need to do that. I bet the average soul would probably do that.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
Get you.
you have heard the words, so that's what'll happen.
I can say that.
Let's get back to being on trees.
What does it do?
You help me, Jim? You help me? There's a guy up where I am that does that stuff. Things on bar. Pretty cool. I mean, if you're interested, go and I'm not.
Maybe end up the perch for backpackers and hang their backpack.
That'd be a good fall festival thing. Watch him do it.
Yeah.
All right, I think there's a team to investigate it. I'm sure it'll come down and cut.
No, I think everybody wants to cut down. I'm just making a joke about it. Nobody really
They'll
wants to
do
cut.
things that are, they'll
Oh,
do something bad to it.
It's probably pretty cool, actually.
Parts to
It's
it.
a little park, could be a nice little monument and everything.
Well, that's,
The
but that's,
holes add parts to it or something, just, no.
We better stick to just bid to cut it down.
Yeah, like here, thanks.
You have a bid for American Tree Experts, $3,400 for that the pin oak and maple tree on 12th Street Plaza. Any other questions? We have a motion to proceed to send this to full council for approval.
I make a motion to send to full council with approval for American Tree Experts to cut down 2 trees at the plaza.
I have a second question.
Motion is second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. As we go to see fire and police chief, just for clarification, when I was talking about the pension, I was talking strictly in numbers, finances. It is hurt us that we've had policemen rotate, and we're glad we had firemen stay. So it's purely about the numbers. When I talk about it's better that the policemen kept moving on, so you'll understand it. We'll go to see new electronic marquee for 10th Street. We've been talking about it, but there was no paperwork. Doug, do you have any paperwork for us?
I'll turn that over to Chief Thornhill. He's the one that's been on all the contacting and the legwork and stuff
Okay.
on that.
Saw that. Shoehorn into that. This, you start digging into these things, what I found is broad and good.
We actually want a wider one as opposed to.
Yeah, and I got it. But what we had, the company that originally did our sign back in 2007, I contacted them, and they are now getting reluctant to update their quotes to me, like they don't want to fool with it. But they had given us a quote to replace the inner computer system and the 2 screen sides, but retain the cap as a solution. Now, keep in mind that solution reduces the width of the actual readout by 6 inches on each side, making it a smaller display. And the last quote I had on them was $14,143, and that's retaining what we have. And that quote is well over 6 months old, and I can't get the new one. So, in researching through the city, a company called Stewart Signs, which has done some work here in the city, in different places, most recently at Roxanne. I had them priced out, and I've got these things you all can see. It's basically the same thing that we have, but it's a new cabinet, and new everything, and new radio control that goes in our station and on it.
Larger screen too.
Well, no. I have them quoted out 2 different ways. One of them is staying with the same size screen, and one of them is upside. What we have right now is 5 feet 6 inches wide. They don't make that odd size anymore. So they make a 6 feet wide and an 8 feet wide. So going 6 feet wide actually gains us a little bit of width. With a new cabinet. Now, keep in mind what we have there is a 256 shade of red. Now everything is full color. So going back the same size with 6 foot, with new everything that we need, with the city installing that. That was one of the things they want, $4,500 if they install it. So with the city doing the install, it's significant savings in their prices. There's 2 different ways to look at this. One of them going the same size that we have. One of these is $15,065. One of them is $18,369. The difference there is going to be in the actual pixels in the display. And where that comes into play is your viewing distance. The more expensive being the 16 millimeter, which there's a 16 and a 20. 20 and the 16 are the size of the actual LEDs. So the bigger they are, the less of them there are in the actual screen. The 16 is the more expensive, 18,000. The 20 millimeter is the 15,000 range. The difference is going to be that 16 millimeter is set up to be perfect viewing at 50 to 80 feet distance. That 20 millimeter is more for 100 feet distance. What that means is, the closer you get to it, the more pixelated it's going to look. If that makes any sense at all.
So it gets too close to your flat screen.
Yes. It's going to be real noticeable on this side of 10th Street. As you pull up to it where you're only 20 feet away, it's going to look real good from 12th Street. The closer you get to it, the more pixelated it'll get with the cheaper. I still think they both look good. Anything's going to look a whole lot better like you have. And it's going to work. That's the key. But if you go to their website, Stewart Signs, they have videos that they put up on YouTube. And they actually put the same things on both of them right on the same screen for you and let you visually see the difference between the 20 and the 16. And you can see they run just letters on it, and then they run some graphics on it, and do some different things so you can actually see with your eyes the difference. And then they've got different ones for different viewing angles, distances. That's where it really comes down to how good you want it to look when people are sitting there at the stoplight. It's going to, the cheaper one is going to look real good at 12th Street and at about Subway. Whereas the more expensive one is going to look good closer setting up. It'll still look good at distance, but it's going to not pixelate as you get closer. That's kind of
So,
that's kind of a, it's like going to, it's just like going to Best Buy and looking at TV.
so you're
Oh, it's a
saying,
big line.
so you're saying the same size we got now,
Yes,
15 and 18.
yes. 15 and change and 18. Wow.
So the step up, did you get a quote on the next size up?
The next size up from what we have a 6 feet wide. They make it 8 feet wide, which gives us more room to put messages. For the cheaper of the two, for the 20 millimeter, which again is going to be your cheap, is the bigger one is an 8 feet wide one. For the 16 millimeter is 20,559. For the cheaper 20 millimeter is 17,841. So that gives you some numbers to look at, and some comparisons to make. If you want it a little bit bigger, just keep in mind that's something I recommend you guys go and look at on their website and compare to that. It's like looking at the difference between, as you're up close, if you're, from what I can see on there, if you're 50 feet or closer, is where you really start noticing the difference. It starts really getting blurry on graphics. Letters are letters. These things are designed to really pop. So the closer you get, is when you're really going to start seeing the 20 millimeter grade in quality versus the 16. They make a 10 millimeter, not the new pricing because they're way off the chart. Those look like a high definition TV screen. Beautiful. But I think those are about $26,000. I didn't even price it down. The 20 mils that I've looked at, the one at Roxana is a 20 millimeter.
I know we priced both of those.
It's a 20 millimeter. sign there, Roxanne, y'all. One at Mount Bishop, there's one.
What's that sign?
Yeah. So,
As far as the installation, I know that doesn't include it. And do we have to put our own new foundation on that, or can we use existing, foundation that we have out there, if we stay on the same side?
I'm not sure. It might require a modification, but it would just be a modification of a little concrete post. They provide everything else and it bolts to that post. I didn't print off any of the installation manuals, but I'm pretty confident that we, city can handle that. They just run power to it. On the computer, the radio, everything that makes the sign work will already be pre-packaged and installed. All we have to do is provide a 20 amp circuit power. I'm confident that we, city, it's not worth $5,000 to have in there.
So we've got,
Yeah, the only thing I see is looking at the signs, and I drive by the one out to church every day, if you're adding letters, it's easy to read if you get the message across. When you start going with some kind of a graphics, picture, or whatever, people are moving through that intersection too fast to be looking at pictures and graphic stuff. I mean, it looks pretty when you're doing it, but when you're trying to get a message across, it just, to me, you end up losing the message because people start looking at the trees instead of seeing the forest.
Yeah.
we start having bricks.
Like what the mayor's saying, the one we have is just the letters. And that's not going to degrade on either one of these. That's going to be fine. The new one will give you at least, you can change the color of those letters. You're not going to lose anything. With the graphics, you can make glowing letters and different things like that.
What size are the LEDs on the existing?
Those are a 17 millimeter. Which they don't even make now.
Yeah.
The spacing on it, well, in defense, that's 256 color versus a million color. So it's, a little good comparison. But the actual pixel matrix of it, the one we have is 32 high by 96. On the smaller side that we've quoted out is 32 by 80, but you're dealing with a higher resolution. 32 by 80. The larger of the cabinet takes you to a 32 by 112.
So let's look at it this way. Anything we do is a huge improvement.
Yeah. If you try to, these things are capable, like the mayor's saying, he's hitting where I want to go with it. You can basically run a video on these new signs. If you do that, you're going to really see the difference up close between 20 and 60. If you stick with basic messaging, maybe a flash, real simple graphics, you're not going to notice any difference at all just on the letter. It'll be better than what's there. But if you try to run video and little fancy things on it, that's just where you're really going to start to see it up close.
After hearing all this, is 17 going to be enough, or do we need to do a couple extra on top of it? Because what we're talking about here is not to exceed 17, and I'm hearing numbers close to 17 and up.
Well, if you go with the
Keep in mind, it comes out of city hall budget, so we need to see before we change that the amount given 17 is what we can handle. But I'm not saying we can handle more, but we got to think before we.
With going back to the same size we had with the cheaper display, we're at 15,000 change.
The 17 will cover
and will give us a good graphics out there.
Well, that's,
17.4 something, wasn't it?
yeah,
Look,
17.4.
the better of the two is 17.8. 17.8.
17.8, excuse me.
And that's the 8 foot, 20 pixel.
That-
And the clerk's looking at her budget, Linda.
Now, are these signs going to conform to our planning and zoning ordinances?
I don't know.
Pardon? They do?
I don't,
Because you know you will get somebody that says, well, your sign down there is good bigger than. So.
what I tried to do,
Business zone.
what I tried to do is just duplicate what we had.
That'll be a general business zone.
Let's come back to the discussion on the amount.
But anyway, this is just one company that we have recognized, report within the city. Sure, there's other options out there. These are just the closest back to same design and everything we have.
The clerk is looking at her budget, she'll give us an update.
What's the timeline on this, chief? If we order, when they were telling me, what, talking about 8, 10, 12 weeks, what?
We didn't get it.
6 weeks?
I think it's.
There's usually new graphics on there. You read that thing really, really good. When you go the one about Michigan, you read real good too. I mean, all those you read, both of them real much.
But the point Chris is making, though, you got a long time to look at both of those signs.
Right, you do.
Tabernacle Mission, for this one, like the mayor said, you've got a short time to sit there and read everything on it. So if you put a bunch of graphics in there with it, that's gonna take away from the message you're trying to get across. I mean, of course, it's all in the program, the software that comes with it.
Let the clerk give us an update on the budget.
Regardless, of course, if the budget, by the way, you all have is up to date. I mean, it's not been reconciled for the month, but I just printed it for budget purposes for, so it hasn't been reconciled. I just printed it so we know exactly what we have paid out as of tonight.
Right.
We put money in there in the city hall for electrical work here that we really need to do. But regardless, wherever we're gonna take it from, we're gonna have to take it contingency in here. Whether we take it from city hall or buildings and grounds.
Okay.
We'll just have to move it out of contingency
So you've heard,
sometime or another and move it.
you've heard the clerk and then you've heard questions. So like the easiest way to narrow it down is, are we leaning towards a 16 or 20? And then once we figure that out, then we can go 6 or 8 foot. So we need to decide first, do we want the clarity of the 16? Is that the right way to say it, chief?
16 millimeter or 20 millimeter.
And then, or we want to go with the budget cost of the 20. Listen to the comments, it sounds like we're concerned about the clarity, but I may be misunderstanding.
It's the difference between a 720 pixel television, first generation high def, and 4K. But to get to 4K quality here, you have to go that out. The difference in looking at the two side by side.
Jim?
It's 6 one way, half the other.
Jim?
I'm clear.
You're all leaning towards the.
That's still be correct.
It's a big difference, we already said.
Other council members also are leaning towards the clear one, the 16 millimeter.
Can I ask one question? On clarity, see how we're talking about clarity. You said the 20 millimeter, you're going to be able to see further away than the 16 millimeter. So if you're sitting at Subway or beyond, you're not going to clearly see the 16 millimeter where you would see the 20 millimeter.
You'll see it.
It just won't be as visible.
Right.
Like I said, you're going to see it, it's just small, but as far as clarity,
If you.
They're both gonna be clear as you back paved. It's when you get up close to one that it starts.
But once you get 50 feet away from the sign, you're in the middle of the intersection. You're not gonna be looking at the sign, I would protect.
So let me say this.
If you're, it depends on which side you're on. If you're on the east side and you're sitting there at the night,
Like from the Mexican restaurant,
you're about 50 feet away on average right there. Oh, as you go back.
so
If
you're
you're on
going
this side, you're,
right up close to it.
if you're up real close to it, you can't really look over and see it anyway. You gotta be back and not count these or so.
I see what you're saying.
So you're gonna be about 100 feet or so from.
You're gonna be between that 50 and 100, that's why I'm telling you, this is one of those decisions I think you guys need.
So if you're sitting on the Dunbar side and you're sitting in that first spot at the light, you're gonna be able to see it there.
Oh, yeah, I think,
But if you're sitting
more,
more,
I
if
think
you're
it'll be
sitting
more
about,
blurry in graphics.
Now, cut in a second, please.
Yes.
I brought this up for the simple point that we needed a new sign out there that was a little bit bigger and a lot better, and you could read it better with more letters on it. I didn't know this was gonna get into a major
That's what I'm saying.
issue of showing movies on it and everything else.
And I'm not suggesting that,
I
I'm
think
just saying,
myself, from what I've heard and read over, the 17.8 would do us absolutely great.
That's what I was asking you, what Charles is, it's your turn.
Now, that's my opinion.
It'll be resolved in the next 5 minutes, because we got a clerk's report.
anything you put up there is gonna be 100 times better than what it is. To answer your question, Rick, it's not gonna unclarify as you get farther, it's just smaller and harder. It gets blurry as you get closer on it, the same way it does with the TV screen. You get closer, you get the more.
So I think we can narrow it down to our choices between the 8 foot at 17.8, like Councilman Flushing mentioned, or to stick with the 6 foot at 18,369, because if you get above that into the 20,000, then we're going way beyond what we have in tonight. So we've got one at 18,369, or one at 17,841, and
now my next question is an 8 foot gonna have a difference on seeing traffic? Or in the, you know what I'm saying? Is it going to come out beyond?
I think it's far enough off the road, if you kind of think.
Okay, just thought we might think about that one.
But that's something also, I think Chris and I need to check with the railroad also. I know our part of it is all planning and zoning in our codes, but we need to check with the railroad also to see if they have the objection to it. I don't know if he will impede on their right of way at all.
It is in there right away.
Huh?
It is in there right away.
Oh, it's over that far? I thought they were just 10
And
feet.
all the way to the edge of Dunbar Avenue.
I thought their right of way was 10 feet off the rail, or off of the
All
ties.
All the parking on Dunbar Avenue belongs to the railroad.
It's not so much getting in the right of way, it's keeping it far enough from the train.
Well,
It's
right, okay.
literally it.
so let me ask this question, do we need to rectify that and table it, or are we ready to go forward? Because we need to decide one way or the other, because we do have 2 more things.
Well, you could add to it $1,000 to it.
I mean, as far as if that's an issue, we want to trade.
Well, you could add $1,000 to it. We know the 6 foot is okay, we just don't know yet.
We better add 2,000. I think 17,841 small versus 16.
Okay, so we can,
Well, they're talking about doing the cheaper one. We're talking about doing 17.8.
That's my suggestion.
so is it okay, so we can keep this thing, so we keep this thing moving? Is it okay if we look at approving a purchase of a sign up to 18,000, add 1,000 to it, and that would allow us to get that 8 foot sign, as long as it doesn't impede too far on a train or all those kind of things? Does that sound all right to everybody?
Even the same height.
Yes,
Is it the same height?
The 6 foot is 7 feet, 6 inches tall.
About the backside, right?
The ground to the top of the sign is 7 feet, 6 inches on the 6 foot. The 8 foot is 8 feet, 6 inches.
So it's one
So
foot.
now,
The one that we have now is 66 inches,
Height.
6'6".
5.5. 5.5 what you have now.
Either one of these is taller.
Either one of these is, I'm gonna call it.
One of them will be 2 foot, one of them will be 4 foot.
Okay, why don't, for sake of time, and also since that's been brought up as well, why don't we, look at tabling this till we get, sorry, Doug, because I know we need to get this wrapped up, but if there's questions
All
about
right, go.
height and width, so let's.
I tabled the motion or the approval of the purchase of electronic marquee
Okay.
until we get the final information we need from the railroad and whatever else discussion we need to have.
Second.
So this would table it until the next finance meeting, and that would give, the chief and everybody else involved time to get that data for us. So we have a motion and a second to table. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you, chief, and for that. We'll make sure we wrap up next time, Doug.
Good deal.
Last two things, the clerk has our finance information and our short budget, as she mentioned. Again, these are not reconciled yet because with the holiday, today was the first business day of the month, but it gives us some information, so I'll let the clerk go with it.
Please give us what's been expenditures. Expenditures are correct, but the receivables have not plugged in. So,
Anything you need to highlight, because we haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
no,
Of course, this reflects 2 months, correct?
yes, and whatever it may be today. And some checks we've got today, some collector's bills we've got today. So that would reflect
Okay.
already.
So this actually goes through today, not Friday.
Right.
So September the
Of
30th.
course, your state funds is at the end of the month of August. So they will be your final statements. And of course, then I just give you the bank statement, what was in the bank.
So you see breakdown of our general fund, coal severance, and all our special funds down through there for the police and others. Any questions for the clerk on this? And we thank her for it to keep us updated on it. Next meeting will be all the final reports from August 8th. Any questions for the clerk? We had, this, I think it's for you, this,
Yes.
a sample of signs, so we'll let that time, let the mayor share about that.
Want to pass out to the council members, proposed sign, to be placed at the entrances to the city. And be a black background sign with white lettering. What we're looking at doing is trying to get 1921 out here on the city side. A year or 2 months before you celebrate our 100th anniversary. This will be the next step in trying to spruce up the entrances to the city a little bit to make everybody aware of what's coming down the pipe. You all like this design concept. It's a high-density polyethylene with black polyethylene posts. It's very, very, very durable. Like I said, it'll be engraved into it.
I just reclaimed.
Always with our
Could keep quiet, please, we're still in the meeting.
our city collars and if it's will, we'll go ahead and proceed with getting pricing. Mike and I've been talking about how many we need. There's a debate between 4, 5, or 7. So I'll get together with this and we can decide once we get a firm cost of what these.
How many of these you gonna do?
That's what I'm saying. There's kind of a question whether it's 4, 5, or 7.
Okay.
Which hole would you take down?
Yes, well, the one we'll probably leave will be the one right there, at 10th Street, the large one, still a very nice sign. Why get with the one, about possibly getting that repainted and adding found in 1921 to the sign.
Great picture.
Any other questions or comments from anyone? Again, this is just for us to
Ready to go
give some
back?
feedback on, and then he'll get some bids together and present it to them. Any questions or comments to the mayor about this? Thank you. Would help a bit for this, for the city. Okay, I think we've covered everything this evening in finance. So hearing no other finance business, we have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Thank you.